Hi, listeners. Welcome to the She Speaks Life podcast, a weekly encouragement where we share our God stories. I'm your host, Jayme Elizabeth, and I am so glad you are spending time with us today to listen.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for coming on the podcast today. My guest this week is Christine Trimpe, and she has such a motivating and inspirational God story to share with us about her battle with obesity and how she successfully lost over 100 pounds. Hi, Christine. How are you?
Hi, Jayme. It is such a privilege and an honor to be here with you today. I'm so excited to talk to you and your listeners.
I'm excited too. I know. I'm looking forward to you sharing your journey of just what it took to get physically healthy and how that emotional and spiritual journey of changing, your lifestyle and finding your purpose through that. So I just would love for you to share a little more about who you are with the listeners and everything that God wants you to encourage those that are listening.
Great. Well, first of all, I call this my journey of healing, and it has been a journey of not only physical, but most importantly, emotional and spiritual healing for me. So I'll start back in the beginning when I started to struggle with my weight. Well, I'll go back a little bit further than that. I was raised in a Christian family. And I became a believer at a very young age through after school Bible school. I'm one of those kids that wanted to make sure that everything's done right. So every week when the leaders would ask if anybody wanted to give their heart to Jesus, I was always raising my hand. So, I wanted to make doubly sure. But anyhow, I was very blessed to be raised in a Christian family, Christian grandparents as well. But I never really had a close relationship with Jesus. It was more something what I just did because of it's what my family did. I didn't really have a deep understanding of an intimate relationship until just recently. So we'll get more into that in a bit. But right now, I'm 52 years old. I'm married to my college sweetheart, and we have 2 young adult children, both of them still at home. But my youngest, my daughter, is 22, and she's getting married. So we are going to be empty nesters pretty soon. Going to be fun.
Yeah.
But, we still, our family has been together through quite a few struggles, health issues. And I just have to say that through my personal journey, we are just all like walking in so much more joy and joy for living and joy for serving the Lord here in this house. So it's really exciting.
Yeah, I can relate to what you were saying about kind of riding the coattails of your parents' faith and how you're a Christian, but you didn't know about that personal relationship. And that's my story too. So I can totally relate. And I love that you shared that with us, because I know that there's, many out there that, why didn't I have that personal relationship? I should have automatically had it when I became saved, but we got to cultivate it and nurture it. And
that's part of the whole part of my journey that I've been processing, and I'm still processing through it as I'm writing my book. But, I guess I was very blessed that I haven't had a lot of struggles in life. And, I have a good relationship with my family, with my extended family. We did go through some health issues here with my son when he was 15 that we still deal with a little bit. And it goes up and down. But gosh, I was just so blessed. And it took a real eye-opening health experience for me to realize that I needed to give up control of everything in my life. As things started to go really downhill with my health, the closer I got to 50, I started being diagnosed with a lot of different chronic metabolic health issues. And I had tried dieting for 3 decades. I began gaining weight when I was in college. Instead of the freshman 15, mine was more like the freshman 40. So I went from a fairly, I went from a fairly petite person. I'm only 5'1" tall, And when I graduated from high school, I weighed 119 pounds. So I wasn't a large person. And I
Yeah.
went to college and something just snapped in my metabolism. And that was, looking back, I can see that's where it all started.
Mm-hmm.
My emotional attachment to food, being away from home for the first time, meeting, my husband. Is this guy going to be the man that's going to be in my life the rest of my life? And just going through different life issues that trying to process all this now, it's like, wow, those were some pretty big things that I didn't lean on the Lord for at all.
Sure.
So as I became unhealthier, I had obstructive sleep apnea, insulin resistance, metabolic syndrome, and then I started having some severe ovarian cyst again. So I had to have an ultrasound that my doctor ordered to see what was going on. And it was discovered that I had non-alcoholic fatty liver disease also, which is really the wake-up call that once I started researching that, I realized that that was something that I really needed to get under control.
Mm-hmm.
And so through my research, I found that hormones have a huge impact on our health, which no doctor, nutritionist, dietitian had ever discussed with me in all the weight loss programs that I had been in over the years. And let me tell you, I've been in probably all of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, as you can imagine, because my weight was always weighed so heavily on my mind, not only on my body, but it was just such a downer to me. So I was always trying to constantly diet in my own
Mm-hmm.
power.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I got the diagnosis of, these recurring ovarian cysts that were very painful, and then the fatty liver disease, that's when I really turned everything over to God and knew that He was the only one that could help me
Mm-hmm.
through these health issues at such an I was still in my late 40s at the time, and I didn't want to face a future. I was, just one blood test away from being diagnosed with type 2 diabetes. I was pre-diabetic.
Mm.
And I didn't like the idea of having any limbs amputated or losing my vision.
Yeah.
So I cried out to God. And I remember telling my pastor too, I sing on the worship team at church. So I told him I had to stop singing because I wasn't in a good place, and just
Mm-hmm.
I was having a lot of health issues, and pray for me. And that's when I really began to turn everything over to God. And He took me on the most amazing journey of discovery. Every step of the way, I could see His hand,
Mm-hmm.
just even from the simple Google searches that I did to learn about my hormones,
Mm-hmm.
to finally landing on a way of eating that worked perfectly for my metabolism.
Wow.
And
Yeah.
all the praise goes to Him. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I
Yep.
know. And that it's like right when you hit that rock bottom, you
Yep.
surrender, and then it's like, okay, God's like, you gave it over to me. Now I'm going to show you and direct you on a more fulfilling life and healing. And
Yeah.
yep, so cool.
Yeah, and He showed me in such a huge way. I cannot believe how perfect I can believe, but
Yeah.
at the I look back at it and I'm just in such awe
Yeah.
at how perfect His provisions are, because if you had told me 5 years ago that I would never eat a bagel again and it wouldn't bother me one bit, I would have laughed in your face, because I would stop and get a bagel on the way to work because bagels are healthy, right? Well, they're not healthy for someone like me who severely battled with insulin resistance, because my insulin hormone was way out of whack. And insulin is your fat storing hormone. So because my insulin was so out of control, leading me down the path of diabetes, type 2 diabetes, I really had to get that under control. And once I was able to do that, that's when my physical healing journey began.
Now, your insulin do you feel like that change was due to age? Like when you turned 40 or when you got a little older? Because,
Nope.
okay.
No, I think it's been with me since my young adult years, because that's when I started gaining weight.
Okay.
And for example, right before I turned 40, I was in a hospital weight loss program where I only ate liquid shakes for 10 months. I lost weight. The doctors were telling me then I was insulin resistant and I had metabolic syndrome and that I needed to lose weight, but they never told me why I was insulin resistant
Mm-hmm.
and more details about what metabolic syndrome was. And at the time, I didn't stumble upon any information, or I didn't feel like I needed any more information because I was in this program and they were going to help me through this. So if they would have sat me down and showed me what my insulin hormone was doing in my body, that probably would have been like a very good thing to know at the time.
An eye-opening thing. Yeah.
Yeah, and then I wouldn't have suffered through another 10 years of obesity, because as soon as I went into maintenance on that program, they reintroduced bread, pastas, whole wheat breads, whole wheat pastas. Some, I could have potatoes again, and those are the types of foods that my body type needs to stay away from.
Yeah.
So as soon as I eliminated them from my diet and switched to whole foods, my diet is mostly all kinds of meats, dairy, eggs, and some above ground vegetables. So no root vegetables, because those are starchy. So yeah, as soon as I discovered that, and then as soon as God brought me to the doctor that I follow, Dr. Fung, and he laid it all out in an easy way for me to understand, and I immediately jumped on board, and the weight immediately started coming off, and my spirit just began soaring. I had so much joy in a very short period of time. Like my mentality, the brain fog lifted, my spirit lifted. It was just, like I said, I'm still in awe of this journey.
Yeah. It just shows the attachment that all three, are physical, emotional, and spiritual. They're all, have such an importance, all tied together, and how we need to nourish each one.
Exactly. And I say it, our whole self has to be healthy. And especially now, since my spiritual walk has just been lit on fire, and God calls us to take care of our temples. And so I believe that this healing journey, the weight loss has been amazing, because I feel so much better physically. I have amazing energy every day, and all of my chronic health conditions have been reversed or eliminated. And it just gives me the ability now to, I believe, walk this path that he has set me on for his purpose.
Yeah. What is he calling you to, and what has he revealed to you lately?
Well, I started a blog back in, about a year after I started my ketogenic and intermittent fasting lifestyle journey. I began that in January 2017. And by January 2018, I had reached my weight loss goals, and I was getting a lot of questions from a lot of people. What did you do? How are you doing this? And I couldn't keep up on responding to everybody. So I started a little Facebook group called Sugar is the Devil. And it's just a little, that's just a little private group I have for like friends and their friends. So I'm trying to keep that small so that we can all, support each other in there. But I was called to step out and start a blog. I had no idea what I was doing, but I had some random stranger reach out to me on Twitter and say, "You don't know me, but you need to start a blog, and I'm going to tell you how to do that." And I was like, what? So this guy gave me a ton of information. He gave me some resources to use. He told me how to get started with WordPress. And he said, "You have such an amazing story that needs to be shared with the world. And I was sent here to tell you to do that." And the most amazing thing about this is he never claimed to be a believer. He said, I know you're a Christian. I know you're a believer. We don't share any similar beliefs with that. He said, "But I still think that I'm here for a reason." It just gives me chills to still think about it. But anyhow, so I started my blog, and I was getting questions from people, and it's just fun to interact with my readers and share. I respond personally to everybody that emails me through my blog. So it's been awesome getting to know people through the blog. I get such encouragement from a few people that are very passionate about their Christian faith, and they share me inspiration and encouragement and devotions. And they're like, "I think you'll be touched by this." So not only do I hope to encourage people to a healthier lifestyle through my blog, I'm also being blessed through my blog from a few people that reach out. So I started the blog, and I just knew that God was calling me to even go further with this. So I stumbled upon the Compel training website through probably scrolling through Facebook one day, and I saw a post from Compel, and I was like, I really need that because I'm an accountant. I'm not a writer, and I could really use some training in how to write. And the Compel website has just been an amazing resource for me. And it's what encouraged me to take a huge step of faith and leave my home and go to the conference, the She Speaks Studio last fall. I went in November. And the day I left for that, I was so nervous. I was, questioning God, what are you doing? Why am I doing this? I've never traveled to a conference by myself in my life, not even for work, right?
Yeah. So, I can relate. I had that same thing happen to me, and it was frightening. It was a huge step of faith, right? And just trusting God. And then of course you're got these little doubts coming, are you sure? Yeah. And then you just push through it and you go. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, let me tell you how I pushed through this, because this is amazing. This was, the first day, the day I had to fly out was a Monday. And I do the Proverbs 31 first 5 Bible studies in the morning. And that Monday morning, we started a brand new study in the book of Jeremiah. So in Jeremiah 1, God reaches out to Jeremiah to call him to his purpose. And in verse, let's see, I'm just going to read it. It says, verse 6, chapter 1, verse 6, sovereign Lord, I said, I do not know how to speak. I am only a child. But the Lord said to me, do not say, I am only a child. You must go to everyone I send you to and say whatever I command you. Do not be afraid of them, for I am with you and I will rescue you, declares the Lord. Then the Lord reached out his hand and touched my mouth and said to me, now I have put my words in your mouth. And I wrote on the margin of my Bible, that was November 6th. And 7th, it was when I was going to the She Speaks Studio 2018. And She Speaks, I was going to the She Speaks Studio to learn more about writing. And so this gave me such an amazing confirmation that I was stepping out and doing the right thing. I have no idea where this journey is going to take me. I'm patiently waiting, on the Lord to give me direction every day. But wow, if that wasn't confirmation, I don't know what was. So
no. Yep. Similar story here. Yep. So good. I love it.
Yes. I loved it too. I was like, I go back and read that chapter in Jeremiah all the time.
Yeah. And that's even good. We got to remind ourselves, right? Like, okay, Lord, where was your word spoken to me when, and show me again, because we just have to constantly remind ourselves the why. And, when he spoke forth the words to us, and then we get refreshed with our faith and our trust in him.
Yes. And then when I went to the She Speaks Studio conference, while I was sitting there, I learned so much. And I learned that it's okay to ask God for big things. It's okay to ask him, for things that I could never have imagined asking him for.
Yeah.
And one of them was, I really enjoy writing the blog, and people had told me, or asked me, when's your book coming out? I'm like, oh, I'm not an author. I'm just this little blogger. But then the more I prayed about it, and the more people asked me about it and encouraged me in it, I connected with a small Christian publishing company, and I'm actually under contract right now, and I am writing a book.
Yay.
And I know it's so crazy.
You are a writer, and you are an author.
I am a writer. And I have to say, I'm actually not, I don't think I'm doing too bad, considering how much I hated my English and writing classes in high school and college. So.
Yeah, it just shows how much insecurity we have with ourselves. But, it's really God's power working through us. So no matter where we're at on our own skill and experience, God's the one that empowers, because, he's anointing us and he's empowering. If he wants us to, wherever he calls us, he qualifies us, so we can
Yes.
rely on that to make his plans move forward.
Right. And so, yeah, I do have a working title for my book. I haven't really shared it yet, but I feel like I'm going to tell you right now what it's called.
Ooh.
It's the working title. I don't have a tagline yet, but the working title is Craving Joy.
Ooh, I like it.
And it's all because of I look back on my former lifestyle and what was I craving to feed my soul? I was craving worldly things, emotional eating. I was craving carbohydrates mainly because that's what my body was demanding because my insulin was going up and down. And every time it dropped, my body was saying, feed me more sugar.
Yeah, we love carbs, don't we? But we can retrain our bodies and not enjoy them as much. But yeah, it's
right,
most of the good food, the yummy, and convenient foods, it's loaded with carbs.
Oh, convenient foods, yes. And I was a creature of convenience. I'm like, what can I do to, get this dinner time done quick and easy so we can get on with the next thing. But I know a huge chunk of scripture that I'm basing the spiritual theme in my book about is from Ephesians 2, being made alive in Christ. And that section talks about, gratifying your soul, gratifying the cravings of your soul with worldly things, and how God has completely flipped the cravings of my heart. And the only thing I crave now, the only thing I hunger for now is time in His Word and time with Him and time with Him to figure out what my purpose is and where He's taking me on this journey. And I've completely been able to gain complete victory over any food obsessions, any food issues, and restored my health, renewed my mind, and completely, my spirit has just been completely redeemed. So
good.
That is the major theme of my book, besides sharing, my testimony and how I was able to heal through His power and His provisions. So
good. And
yes.
Physically, any exercises or anything like that you do?
Yeah. I actually did try exercising a lot in the past because the standard American diet advice is to eat less, move more.
Yeah.
So I always have had gym memberships to various locations, and I don't know if have you ever heard of the Susan Powder gyms? I mean, I picture myself in those ridiculous like 1990s exercise attire. I was busting my butt, literally going to exercise at these places, and nothing ever had any significant impact.
Yeah.
So the thing that I discovered once I started my keto, low carb living lifestyle was I didn't have to exercise to lose weight because being in ketosis, my body was constantly burning fat, and that's how I lost the weight. But I wanted to start moving my body, and it was such a joy. Like now I enjoy lifting weights, and my friend at church makes me do Pilates, even though I don't really enjoy that too much. I know it's a really good workout. And
that's my least favorite because I can't core. That's my weak spot. And oh my goodness, I'm like, I can't breathe when I'm doing workouts. And I'm actually a group instructor. I work at a gym. Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
But I do body sculpt, so weight lifting with dumbbells and bands, and I'll teach bar.
Yeah.
But so I can tell the areas where, are my least favorite, and, but I, push through it because I know, we got to strengthen the whole body, but it's,
she's like, your core needs work. Get busy. So, and I know. So just to keep your body moving and flexible, and, as I'm getting older, I want to make sure that I have strength because I don't want to be, I don't want to risk breaking bones and things like that. So it is fun to move. I have to tell you one real fun story about moving my body more. Like when I used to go on trips with my family, I would never be the one to venture off on the hikes and things like that. And right before I discovered keto and low carb living, I was up in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan with my daughter and her boyfriend, and there was an 8-mile hike, and they wanted to go on it. And I was like, there's no way I can do that. So I took a lawn chair and I took a book and I sat at the trailhead and I waited for them. And I was so sad.
Yeah.
I'm like, I cannot believe I can't do an 8-mile hike. But there was no way I would have been able to do that. It was on pretty uneven terrain.
Yeah, that's that's a lot of
Yeah.
miles.
And then my husband and I were in Rocky Mountain National Park, and he would venture off further on trails. So I came home from that trip really sad. And that's when all the health issues started happening too. And then after I lost my weight, my daughter and I took a mother-daughter trip for 3 weeks in Ireland because it was our last trip together before she leaves me. And I did an 11-mile hike up a mountain in the Wicklow Mountains at Glendalough National Park. And it was the most amazing, we call them non-scale victories, because we don't measure our victories on the scale. Now, I hiked 11 miles up a mountain.
Good for you. Wow.
Yeah. It was like, I just want to cry thinking about it still because, up at the top mountains, I love mountains too. They're my favorite type of terrain. Give me a mountain over the beach any day. And I just feel like I can meet God on the top of these mountains. And
so symbolic too. Wow.
Yeah.
That is so awesome. And see his nature and be able to enjoy it. And, the faith that it took you, you can move mountains and you're at the peak of that mountain and triumph and walking in victory. And that's so awesome.
Right. And telling my daughter to come on, let's go, keep
Motivating
going.
her. I love it.
That was the best part. That was the best part because I think I kicked her butt that day. So.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. So, but I just feel like this path that God has me on is so important. I don't think our health, our physical health and mental health, and even our spiritual health, how they all relate to each other, I don't think it's talked about enough in the church. And I just love to encourage women to, they don't necessarily have to follow a low carb lifestyle like I do, but I know there's a lot of people that struggle with their health and their weight, and chronic health conditions are piling up. And I want to be able to help people. I don't ever want people to feel like I'm judging them because it's such a sensitive issue, but I'm here to, like you introduced me, I'm here to inspire and to motivate and encourage people that there is a better way. And, God calls us to take care of our bodies, our temples, and it's all for the purpose. Like I'm living proof that I now have this energy and this deep, deep passion to share this joy with other people.
You are. God uses us, our stories, to be examples of what he can do through us.
Right.
And just seeing, the struggle and the battle and the confidence that you gain through Christ to be able to go to that conference, by yourself and to actually learn and to be trained, poured into, like they spoke life into you saying, you can do this, rely on God's power, not by your own. And if he called you to do it, he qualifies you. So good how the chain of events led you to now your calling of speaking and writing to help others through what you went through. So, so good.
It's been an awesome path. And I have such a bold confidence in speaking about his love and, the salvation of Jesus now with people. I never, ever did that in my past. I would feel like I would let that be done by the other people in my church or the other people that were more outgoing than me. I never had the confidence to do anything like that. And now when people, even if I know they're, especially when I know they're not believers, I always, credit my journey to God being my specific and great provider of my health and healing, and it's all for His glory. So I'm super excited about that. So
good. And sister, we know that happens in our quiet time. Yes. It's that quiet time that we, read His word and we're in prayer and we listen to what He's telling us, and that brings the confidence to step forth boldly and proclaim who He is, the
right, right. And the time in His word is my second deepest passion, with trying to encourage women to do that first thing in the morning, because that has completely changed my life as well. So,
yep. It's like it's like oxygen, right?
Yes. It's really. Yeah, it's truly, I know people think it's like kind of far out when I say that, but it's like truly the only thing I crave. When I start waking up in the morning, it's like, oh, I get to get up and go have my quiet time and my coffee. And I call it my Bible and beans. And it's the best part of my day.
Yep. I'm there too. And I think, the more, we're making that our routine, I think the more we crave. Like, God has a way of, His word, He says, is alive and active, and it really does pull us in to want more and more, and to learn more about Him, learn more about how He sees us and who we are. And so good. So where can everyone find you? Is it joyfulketolife.com?
Yes, my blog is joyfulketolife.com, and all my social links are on the front page of my website. I'm on Instagram, I'm on Twitter, I have a Facebook business page, and I also just recently started a new YouTube channel, and you can find me through a link on my website or on YouTube. I'm at Christine Trimpe, just my name.
So good. So everyone can find you there, reach out to you. Listeners, if you're going through struggles with your weight, or just feeling like you just got this unhealthy lifestyle, out of all the people, Christina's gone through it and can help you and guide you and lead you in the right direction, along with, the importance of our spiritual health and what it does to us mentally and all that. So, so good for you to share your story with us, Christine.
Yeah, it's such a privilege and an honor, and I'm so looking forward to getting to meet you in person too, Jayme.
Yes, that's right. We have not met face to face.
Right.
So we will in another week, less than a week away.
So exciting. At another speaker conference, writer and speakers. So
that's right. That's right. All right, Christine, we'll talk to you soon. Thanks for coming on here.
Okay, thanks, Jayme.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much for listening today. I trust that God has encouraged you through this message. For more information on this ministry and to access free downloads, please visit my website at jaymeelizabeth.com and sign up. You can also find me on Instagram and Facebook at Jayme Elizabeth She Speaks Life. That's Jayme Elizabeth She Speaks Life. Until next time, my friends, I pray God reveals Himself through your own life story.